Okay, so let's unpack this. It is February 2026.
Right.
And if you are looking at the terminal screens on Wall Street right now, everything is screaming success.
It really is.
I mean, the numbers are up, the GDP is smashing records, the charts are just this endless sea of green. But then you take your earbuds out,
Yeah.
you look away from the screen, you walk down the street in your local town, and it's quiet.
Uncomfortably quiet.
Like, incredibly quiet.
It is the silence of the real world, clashing with the noise of the digital one. It's a very specific kind of dissonance.
Dissonance is exactly the right word, and that's the jarring paradox we are diving into today for this deep dive.
Because we are looking at a source that is honestly one of the weirdest things to cross my desk in a while.
Yeah, it's titled The Stoic Oracle.
Which sounds like a contradiction in terms right off the bat.
Right, it sounds like a daily horoscope or something, but it's actually this incredibly dense text. It blends really dark, high-level financial analysis with ancient Roman philosophy.
And it coins a term that I think perfectly captures this weird moment in time we're supposedly living in right now.
The ghost GDP.
The ghost GDP is a haunting phrase. And what's fascinating here is that the source isn't just giving us economic data.
No, not at all.
It is framing this economic reality as a crisis of existence.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that in a world completely governed by algorithms, where the economy seems to be doing fine without us, the only way to stay standing is to use what it calls the cold, hard steel of Stoicism.
Which, to be honest, felt like a bit of a stretch when I first read the abstract.
I can see why.
I mean, it explicitly brings up Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. My first thought was, okay, great. But Marcus Aurelius didn't have to worry about high-frequency trading algorithms.
Or AI taking his job.
Exactly.
Fair point. But the source argues that the nature of the chaos doesn't matter. Only your reaction to it matters. It describes the current environment as a black tide of digital chaos.
A black tide.
Right. So if you're feeling a little untethered by the state of the world in this text's version of 2026, the argument is that you need a philosophy that was built for collapsing empires.
So our mission today is to decode this ghost GDP. We want to understand why the real world feels so empty while the markets are soaring.
And figure out how a guy who died almost 2,000 years ago can actually help us pay the rent.
Mentally and literally.
Right, in a world of complete automation. And just to set the stakes here, the source makes it extremely clear. This isn't just about portfolio management.
It's about survival.
It is about survival.
So let's get into the numbers because they are staggering. The source lays out this statistic that really made me do a double take.
The output numbers.
Yeah. It claims that in early 2026, corporate output has surged by 30%. Companies are making more stuff faster than ever before.
But in the exact same breath, it notes that human employment has dropped by 40%.
That gap right there.
That gap is the ghost GDP. Historically, those two lines on the chart moved together. If you wanted to make 30% more cars or write 30% more code, you needed to hire roughly 30% more people.
There was a tether.
There was a tether, yes. And the tether has been cut.
Completely severed.
The definition the source gives is chilling. It says ghost GDP is productivity that exists only for machines, by machines. Value has completely decoupled from humanity.
Okay, but help me visualize that. Because value is an abstract concept.
True.
The source uses this incredibly vivid image. It describes it almost like an old woodcut print.
The factory.
Right. Picture a massive, fully automated factory. It's humming along, producing millions of smartphones or garments or 3D printed housing modules.
Just churning out billions of dollars in book value.
But the parking lot is empty.
Completely empty.
There are no shift changes. There are no workers smoking by the back door. No one is buying lunch at the food truck outside.
Because there are no workers.
And because there are no workers to pay, the source points out the ripple effect. The shops in the local town are closing down because nobody has disposable income.
The factory is a miracle on the GDP chart.
But for the town it sits in, it's a ghost.
This is what the source calls the perfect production cycle. And it is a closed loop. The machine produces the goods, the automated warehouse stores them, the autonomous fleet delivers them.
But wait, hold on. I have to play devil's advocate here. If nobody has a job, who is buying the stuff?
That is the trillion-dollar question.
It feels like the economic model should collapse instantly. You can't just have robots making things for nobody.
The source actually addresses this head-on. It suggests we are in a transition period, a zombie economy.
A zombie economy.
Right. A lot of this production is business to business or machine to machine. Algorithms trading bandwidth, storage, data, and futures with other algorithms.
So the money is just moving between servers.
Exactly. The velocity of money is incredibly high inside the server farms, but it is grinding to an absolute halt on Main Street.
So it's a bubble.
The source calls it a house of cards. Because you're right, machines don't have desires. They don't have human needs.
A robot arm doesn't need a new pair of jeans.
It doesn't want to go to Hawaii. It doesn't need the latest iPhone. They don't consume in a way that sustains human civilization.
That is such a weird concept to wrap your head around, an economy that runs on autopilot while the passengers, meaning us, are just watching out the window.
Exactly. And the source argues that this is why the stock market is hitting record highs. Efficiency is at 100%. Labor costs are near zero.
Profits are technically immense.
Yes, but the consumer base, the actual humans, has been hollowed out. It is an engine revving to the red line, but the car isn't moving.
And that leads us to the bifurcated reality the text mentions. This was the part that felt the most real to me, just looking around at the world today. It talks about ghost inflation versus digital deflation.
Right. This is critical to understanding 2026. The source points out that anything a machine can generate, code, legal advice, entertainment, design, the price of that is dropping to near zero.
It's deflationary.
Because the supply is infinite.
Exactly. But anything that requires physical resources, land, clean water, energy, actual human care, the price of that is skyrocketing.
So in this scenario, you can get a team of AI lawyers to draft a complex contract for $5, but a loaf of bread costs 20.
That is the ghost inflation. The central banks are printing money to keep the financial system, the ghost, alive.
And that money flows into assets.
Pushing up the cost of living while your earning power in the digital realm is being eroded by automation.
It's a massive trap.
Yeah.
And the source suggests that the only way to handle this, mentally at least, is not to fight the economics with more economics. You have to shift gears entirely into psychology.
Because when the economy stops needing humans to produce value, humans start asking some very dark questions about their own worth.
This is a section that really hit hard. The source calls it the deflation of the soul.
The deflation of the soul. It's a powerful term.
It is, and it touches on something so fundamental. For centuries, millennia maybe, we have tied our identity to our labor. When you meet someone at a party, what's the first thing you ask?
What do you do?
Exactly. I am a doctor, I am a builder, I am a writer.
But the source poses this brutal question. Who are you when an AI does your work better, faster, and for free?
It triggers an identity crisis on a global scale. If your self-worth is tied to your economic utility and your utility drops to zero, where does that leave you?
You feel redundant.
The source describes people feeling like ghosts in their own cities. They walk past the buildings they used to work in, but they can't get in, and they aren't needed.
And this is where the Stoicism really comes in. And I want to push back on this a bit, because usually when people bring up Stoicism in tech, it's some bro-science life hack to be more productive.
Right, optimization.
But this feels completely different. The Stoic oracle brings in Seneca.
Yes, and this isn't about productivity at all. It is about insulation. Seneca had this concept of preferred indifference.
It's a bit of technical Stoic jargon.
It is, but it's crucial here. He taught that things like wealth, health, status, these are things we prefer. It's better to be rich than poor, obviously.
Sure.
But, and this is the key, they are indifferent to your moral character. They do not define who you are.
Okay, but that's easy for Seneca to say, right? He was one of the richest men in Rome. It's a lot harder to say wealth is indifferent when you can't pay for that $20 loaf of bread we talked about.
That is a very fair critique, and Seneca was actually criticized for that in his own time. But the source argues that in the ghost GDP era, this mindset is the only survival mechanism left.
Because wealth has become abstract.
Just digits on a screen managed by algorithms. If you tie your happiness to those numbers, the source says you become a slave to the machine.
So the radical proposal here is, if a machine can do your job, let it.
Yes, let it.
That feels like giving up.
It feels like surrender, absolutely, but the source frames it as a strategic retreat. The argument is that the job was never you in the first place. It was just a function you performed.
The source is pushing us to distinguish between code and virtue.
Yes.
I did love this breakdown.
Yeah.
Because we talk about AI hallucinating or thinking or feeling, but the source shuts that down hard. It says an AI cannot be courageous.
No, it can't. Think about what courage actually is. Courage is taking the path of most resistance because it is the right thing to do.
It's jumping into the freezing river to save someone.
Exactly. An AI follows the path of least resistance. That is how it's coded. It optimizes for the outcome with the highest probability of success. It cannot choose to suffer for a principle.
And it can't be just.
Right. It only optimizes parameters.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand fairness or humanity. It can simulate an apology perfectly, but it cannot feel remorse.
And it certainly can't have temperance.
No, absolutely not. The entire AI model is built on infinite growth, infinite data consumption. It is the gluttony of information.
It wants all the data.
All of it. Temperance, the ability to say, I have enough, is exclusively human.
So in a way, the Ghost GDP is stripping away all the superficial stuff we thought made us valuable, our ability to crunch numbers or write emails.
Leaving us with the only thing that actually matters, our character.
That's the optimistic reading of it. It's forcing a return to the essentials. The machine takes the process, the human keeps the purpose.
Okay, so we have the diagnosis, the economy is a zombie, the factories are empty, and our souls are deflating.
The source suggests we need a Stoic shield. It outlines 2 specific tools for this. The first one is amor fati.
Love of fate. Now, be careful with this one. It doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you just lie down and let the algorithm roll over you.
Right.
It means accepting that this collapse, this huge shift in 2026, isn't a mistake. It's not a glitch in the matrix. It is the reality.
It's looking at the world and saying, okay, this is what is happening. I am not going to waste my energy screaming at the news ticker.
Exactly. It is conserving your energy. If you fight the tide, you drown. Amor fati is learning to swim in the cold water.
And the second tool is premeditatio malorum.
The premeditation of evils.
Which sounds absolutely miserable. Why would I want to sit around thinking about bad things happening? I have enough anxiety as it is.
It does sound completely counterintuitive, but it is actually an anxiety killer. It involves deliberately visualizing the worst-case scenarios.
Like, what if the banks actually close tomorrow? What if my savings account goes to absolute zero?
Precisely. You play out the movie in your head, you see the assets vanish, you see the career end, and then you realize, okay, if that happens, I am still breathing.
I still have my mind.
I can still make a choice. By looking the fear directly in the eye, you strip it of its power to terrify you.
It reminds me of that image the source quotes from Marcus Aurelius, the promontory.
Oh, it is one of his most beautiful metaphors. He imagines a rock jutting out into the sea, a promontory. The waves are crashing against it constantly, furiously.
The noise is deafening.
But the rock doesn't move. It doesn't scream back at the waves. It stands firm, and eventually the water around it settles.
And the message for 2026 is, be the rock.
Be the rock. The economic waves, the inflation, the automation, the panic, they will break. But you have to stand firm.
That is weirdly comforting, but let's pivot to the practical side of this, because I know you, the listener, are smart and practical.
Yep.
You're probably thinking, okay, I'm the rock, great. But how do I eat?
Right.
The source doesn't just leave us in philosophy class, it talks about autonomous value.
Yes. This is the pivot from defense to offense. The Ghost GDP acts as a filter. It filters out everyone who is completely dependent on the system for their identity and survival.
But for those who pass through the filter, there is opportunity.
Massive opportunity.
So what does autonomous value actually look like in practice? Is it just starting a small business?
It is deeper than just a side hustle. It means decoupling your survival from traditional employment structures. The source talks about becoming the master of the machine.
Instead of being replaced by AI, you use AI tools to serve your personal goals.
Right. Let me give you an example.
Please do.
Okay, take a graphic designer. In the old model, they work for a firm, waiting for clients to be assigned to them. In 2026, the AI can do the baseline design.
So they're out of a job?
If they stay in that model, yes. So the designer stops selling design time. Instead, they use the AI to build their own products, their own brand, their own entire world. They become the director, not the actor.
So you stop being the cog in the machine and you start building your own machine.
Exactly. But to do that, you need assets that can't be inflated away or automated away. The source lists 4 specific assets, the 4 assets of 2026.
And they aren't gold or crypto or real estate.
No, they are the Stoic virtues, reinterpreted for this specific future.
Let's run through these because this is essentially the toolkit. First is wisdom.
Wisdom, in this context, is the ability to see the world as it actually is, not as the algorithms present it to you. We are drowning in curated feeds, deepfakes, and AI-generated noise.
Wisdom is the filter.
It is the ability to say that is a manipulation, that is false. It is maintaining a firm grip on reality.
So wisdom is basically anti-algorithm defense.
Yes. It's the ability to think longer than a 15-second video clip.
Second is justice.
This one is huge. In a world of total automation, human connection becomes a premium luxury. Justice here means treating others with humanity in an increasingly inhumane world.
When everyone else is treating people like data points or obstacles.
The person who operates with integrity and fairness becomes incredibly valuable. Trust becomes the scarcest currency in the market.
That makes perfect sense. If I can't trust the video I'm watching, I'm going to value the person I actually know and trust 10 times more.
Precisely. Community is an asset.
Third, courage.
Facing the economic storm without flinching. But practically, this means not panic selling when the market dips and not panic buying when a hype cycle spins up.
It's the ability to hold your position when everyone else is running for the exits.
Exactly.
And finally, temperance. And this one feels the hardest to me in our current culture.
It is absolutely the hardest. Temperance is living simply. The ghost GDP relies on excess. It needs you to consume.
It needs you to doom scroll.
To buy the digital skins, to upgrade the subscription every month. Temperance is saying, I don't need that.
It's opting out of the dopamine loop.
It is finding absolute freedom in needing less. If you need less to be happy, you are immune to the economic pressure. If you can be happy with a book and a walk, the algorithm has no leverage over you.
It's really about building an internal economy that the external economy just can't touch.
That is a perfect way to put it. An internal economy of character.
You know, when we started looking at this source, the Stoic Oracle, I fully expected a depressing read. I mean, ghost GDP, zombie economy, deflation of the soul. The terminology is bleak.
Very bleak.
But I'm coming away from it feeling empowered. Is that the right word?
I think so. Because it takes the fear of the unknown, this massive technological shift, and it completely reframes it. It says, yes, the tide is rising. Yes, the old world is fading.
But it reminds you that you aren't the economy. You aren't your job title. You aren't your portfolio.
The source calls it the black tide, but it ends with a reminder that we are not ghosts.
We are the only things in this equation that aren't ghosts. We are the ones with the consciousness to actually experience it. The machines are just spinning wheels in the dark.
We are the light.
There is a quote from Epictetus the source uses near the end to sum this up. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do.
It is a profound call to action. In the silence of the storm, you have to decide who you are. The algorithm can't tell you that. An AI chat interface can't tell you that. You have to decide.
That is the big takeaway for me. In a world where material success is increasingly reserved for what the text calls the digital elites, the machines and the few who own them, we have to cultivate a completely different kind of success.
A spiritual success.
Yeah.
One that no algorithm can calculate and no market crash can ever take away.
So here is the thought I want to leave you with today. We've talked about the ghost GDP, the empty factories, and the strange silent efficiency of 2026. It is very easy to feel small in the face of that. It's easy to feel obsolete.
Very easy.
But ask yourself this. If the power grid went down tomorrow and the servers shut down and all of the ghost GDP vanished into thin air, what is your internal net worth? If all the external systems failed, do you have the internal systems to not just survive, but lead?
If the machine stops, who are you in the silence?
That is the question you need to answer. Thank you for diving deep with us into the Stoic Oracle. It's a wild world out there, but remember, stand firm, be the rock.
Can't stay human.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.